Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. What you just saw was the self-proclaimed chosen by God President-elect Donald Trump being inaugurated and being sworn into office, but not putting his hand on the Bible. I repeat, the man who was chosen by God, where divine intervention saved Donald Trump so that he could save America from Satan and his minions. And yet Donald Trump, of all people, of all presidents, including Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, who some believe is the Antichrist himself, or Joe Biden, maybe the creepiest, most demonic man we've ever seen, if he is actually human, serve in office. These people took their oath and swore on the Bible. Don't worry. Don't get skeptical. Don't have any questions about this, because MAGA's already defending it. And MAGA's defending it because, of course, they can't have their narrative of Trump being a savior and a messiah crumble to the ground. But they won't allow that narrative to crumble to the ground. They'll make excuses for Donald Trump. But the hope is that when regular people see things like this, they start to wake up to the deceptions that they are under. And another deception that ties into Donald Trump and his entire inauguration, which, again, I have a full breakdown coming on the entire inauguration from front to end, including the references to the golden age. I mean the golden dawn. That video will be available on my other channel, the Nations Conspire channel. So look out for that video with a breakdown, including talking about and referencing Mars during his inauguration speech. But this video, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the fact that Trump did not swear in the Bible. And number two, why this ritual was held indoors. They told you it was because it's cold. And of course, MAGA told you it was because of safety reasons. So automatically everybody believes that narrative. It was 25 degrees in Washington, D.C., not the coldest on record. Obama was sworn in 28 degrees. It was the teens when Jimmy Carter was sworn in. It's kind of normal weather for January in Washington, D.C. But the real reason, of course, was that this was a ritual. And they wanted Trump to be sworn in the rotunda underneath the apotheosis. That's right, the apotheosis. For anybody out there that doesn't know, of course, we're constantly surrounded by imagery, by signs and symbols where these demons reveal themselves to all of us. But nobody pays attention to any of it. They think that these are works of art. And the apotheosis of Washington at the U.S. Capitol is a picture depicted of George Washington surrounded by really pagan gods. And if you don't know what apotheosis means, it's the highest point in the development of something, or a culmination, or a climax. And the literal meaning of apotheosis is the elevation of a person to the rank of a god. Defecation, glorification of a person or thing. So you have defecation, right, which makes sense with anybody who's placed into power as the President of the United States, because their job is literally to defecate on our lives and on our rights and freedoms. But the elevation of a person to the rank of a god is very important to note, being that Trump was sworn in right underneath this image. And what do we see now in our society? From MAGA specifically, they view Donald Trump as a god. He puts himself in the same breath as God. We see MAGA rolling around golden idol statues of Trump. Donald Trump could do no wrong in any of their eyes. In fact, Donald Trump has compared himself to God and called himself the chosen one. So if you don't think that this was a ritual, think again. And in that mural above him, they're holding up a banner that says, "Out of many, one." Which is interesting, being that this entire New World Order that we all expose, this same New World Order that MAGA and conservatives believe Donald Trump is going to go against, and he's the opposition of the New World Order because, all it takes is a few fake assassination attempts and some fake trials, some sham trials. And of course, the same people who are trying to throw you in prison, showing up at your inauguration, they don't think that far ahead. All it takes is a little bit of a circus, political theater. And these people believe that Donald Trump is opposed to the New World Order, right? But of course, we all know that the New World Order is really a one world order. So how fitting that he is standing underneath the banner that says, "Out of many, one." And of course, again, that mural, the apotheosis, meaning the elevation of a person to the rank of God. So while he refuses to swear in on the Bible, and of course they'll tell you that he didn't refuse it, it was an accident. This is the excuse. They'll just constantly make excuses, like I said. He could literally be shown in bed next to Jeffrey Epstein and a bunch of minors, and people out there would make an excuse and say that, well, he was doing it to prove a point. He's playing 6G chess. It doesn't matter at this point. We see how bad this psychosis is, and this was done by design. This is why Democrats had to make things so insane and talk about all of these issues that were complete insanity. We saw the stuff that they were parading on television every day, putting pronouns above protecting the borders and protecting our way of life in America. All this stuff that drove people completely nuts, so much so that they will defend Donald Trump to the grave just to avoid the chaos, and I really mean the mind chaos, that just ensued. So the apotheosis of Washington depicts George Washington sitting among the heavens in an exalted manner, so one with God, right? This is the core of Freemasonry. George Washington, of course, another Freemason. They believe that they are gods among us. Remember Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, which is very important, that 322, and why Skull and Bones uses it. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. They believe that they are gods among us. So the apotheosis of Washington depicts Washington sitting among the heavens in an exalted manner, or in literary terms, ascending and becoming a god. This is in your capital, ladies and gentlemen. Washington, the first U.S. president and commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, is allegorically represented, surrounded by figures from classical mythology. Washington is draped in purple. Of course, we know purple, the color of royalty. Jill Biden was wearing purple. We've seen this depicted many times with Hillary back when Trump was selected, wearing purple, and Bill Clinton wearing purple, all done by design, color-coded. So George Washington draped in purple, worn by generals of the ancient Roman Republic. Keep that in mind. Remember some of the stuff that Elon Musk has tweeted out about building a modern-day Roman Empire, okay? There's a lot of symbolism to why he was sworn in underneath this. It wasn't, again, because it was cold outside and he was afraid to get frostbite. This is a ritual. So Washington draped in purple, worn by the generals of the Roman Republic during their triumphs, with a rainbow arch at his feet, flanked by the goddess Victoria, who is draped in green, using a horn to his left, and the goddess of liberty to his right. Liberty wears a red liberty cap, symbolizing emancipation from a Roman tradition where slaves being manumitted would be given a felt cap. She holds a fasces in her right hand and an open book in the other, to which George Washington gestures with his right hand. Forming a circle between Liberty and Victoria are 13 maidens. 13, another number used in the occult, each with a star above their head. Remember, the star is a pentagram. That's what a star is, the 5 points of the pentagram, 5 points in a star. They just use it to deceive you without putting the line through it. If I showed you the Dallas Cowboys logo next to a Wiccan pagan star, you'd say, well, wait, they do look, very similar, but there's no crosses between the Dallas Cowboys. Well, that's, of course, because they don't want you to realize what the logo really stands for. They want you to realize that it's on your American flag, that it's pretty much represented by every single corporation in America. One way or the other, they have some type of variation of the pentagram in their logo. And again, I've covered this symbol many times, and Aleister Crowley talking about how everyone is a star. It is a pentagram. So 13 maidens, each with a star above her head, representing the original 13 colonies. Several of the maidens have their backs turned to George Washington, said to represent the colonies that had seceded from the Union at the time of the painting across the circle from George Washington is the banner, which reads, "Out of many, one." And again, this stuff is all deliberately done. You have the symbolism of this with man becoming God and the connection, of course, to these secret societies who, again, they all believe that they are gods, that they are elevated to gods, that they are gods among us. Donald Trump, the elevation of a person to the rank of God, refusing to swear in on the Bible. And don't think for 1 second that that wasn't done on purpose, that he didn't rush that speech. I mean, everybody knows, even if you're, don't pay attention to politics, everybody knows that when a president is sworn in, he's sworn in on a Bible, right? Unless he goes out of his way to say that he's an atheist or he doesn't believe in God. Donald Trump has been depicted as this savior chosen directly from God. So you would think that the guy reading the oath would wait for Donald Trump to have his Bibles. And the excuse they're making is that he went too fast, that Melania didn't get up there fast enough. Melania's standing there, and he's right next to Melania. Don't you think that he would think in his head that he needs to put his hand on the Bible, especially if he's been marketed to Christians as being this savior for Christians? This was deliberately done. And they know they can get away with this because they know that all they need to do is have Trump ignore it and say, well, he kind of rushed the speech. Hey, it's no big deal. And all these people will just automatically dismiss it because they don't want to believe the actual truth. But that right there, if that wasn't deliberate symbolism right in front of us, because it was deliberately done. It wasn't an accident. They didn't get there in time. Anybody out there with common sense would have known, hey, you got to swear on the Bible. The guy reading the oath to him would have said, hey, wait, let's wait, I mean, everybody out there now puts Donald Trump in this light where God has chosen them. I mean, that's the MK Ultra that they're using on everyone, right? So even somebody with the littlest common sense would look at that and say, that's a little bit weird. But MAGA doesn't. MAGA says, hey, this guy rushed the speech. Melania wasn't ready. Excuse after excuse after excuse, right? Just the same while, they'll defend the fact because, leading up to this entire, inauguration, the entire thing leading up to it, it's like they suddenly decided they weren't going to go outside, right? That they were going to bring it inside. And the excuse is the cold. So all of these people out there defending the fact that he did it indoors because they're saying, well, it's not really the cold. They were afraid of another attempt on Donald Trump's life, so they decided to take it indoors. And of all the locations they could have chosen, of course they chose underneath the apotheosis, right? This mural that depicts George Washington as elevating to the rank of a god, the exact core of what secret societies teach, right? While holding up a banner that says, out of many, one. You can't make this stuff up. How anybody at this point is defending someone like Donald Trump or anybody on both sides, it's beyond me. It should have been enough at Jimmy Carter's funeral where people saw that and they said, hey, he seems awfully buddy-buddy with Obama. Then he comes out and he jokes about it. He's like, did it look like we were friends? I'm good at being friendly when I need to be friendly, right? How many excuses can people make? When are people going to learn that the only reason that we're in a country divided, the only reason that this insanity that they've normalized is happening, because the left and the right are working together to normalize it. It's a seesaw, and it goes back, and it goes forth, and it goes back, and it goes forth. And now, of course, like I warned about for a long time, now, of course, most of the Democrats out there are going to start seeing their rights removed, and they're not going to be thrilled about it. Remember when they were so giddy to remove free speech? Well, people like me and you, there's nothing for us to celebrate, because obviously it's not going to apply to people like us because they're going to lump us in and just say that we're Democrats, just like they said years ago that we were conservatives and Republicans. Even if you don't support Donald Trump, well, the things that you talk about, conspiracy, yeah. Oh, but now the platforms will be okay, right, for conservative voices, but not if you're anti-conservative, which, of course, will lump us into it. But you can't, you really, if you were going to tell me, like, before this entire thing happened today, And I've been working on other videos, again, that'll be up on Nations Conspire for people to see on the website as well, where, we'll break down all of the stuff going on, including, how they call the car that he's driven there in the Beast, how he talked about the golden age. It's incredible. But if you told me that Donald Trump, after I discussed it a couple times with Lee Greenwood in previous videos, right? Talking about maybe he's going to get sworn in on that fake, Lee Greenwood Bible that he's selling for, $1,000 autograph. If you were going to tell me that Donald Trump would not have his hand on the Bible for the oath, and people out there would make excuses for him, I don't know if I would have believed that. I certainly wouldn't believe that he would not have his hand on the Bible. I think they'd go out of their way to make sure that'd be like the last thing you would think he could possibly forget, especially with the way they've marketed Donald Trump to us as divine intervention and all these MK Ultra themes that they put around him where he's chosen by God and he doesn't put his hand on the Bible. And somehow these people are blaming others as if it didn't go through Trump's head while he's standing there, right? Where he's like, well, where's the Bible? Well, I'm not going to say the oath until the Bible's next to me, right? I mean, they know that they could give you the middle finger right to your face if you're in MAGA, if you're a conservative, and they can make you look like total fools, and you'll still support them and beg for them and make excuses for them. I can only imagine what excuses are to come. As these demons like Trump continue to reveal themselves, are people out there going to continue to defend them? The answer is probably yes. So Donald Trump sworn in, not on a Bible though, folks, which tells you everything you really need to know, doesn't it? I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.